the fear of failure is one whole piece. And then if you combine the fear of failure and then a trial and error, a trial that doesn't do well, that fear becomes bigger.
So this is Kirk Francis. I have Ed Gettemeier here in front of me. And how I know Ed is that he went to Lindenwood, and I knew him through my sister. He received the Alvin Francis honorary...
Yeah. Your dad, yeah.
Something that was my father,
award, yeah.
leadership award. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I reached out to him. But then I found out he has an amazing history. And I'm here just to learn more about Ed and his history and then what he's currently doing right now. So, Ed, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Oh, thank you.
I know you're getting ready to go on a vacation real soon. And probably pretty excited about that.
Tomorrow, yeah. We're my wife and I are heading to the Grand Canyon. I haven't been there yet.
And wow, so, you haven't been to the Grand Canyon?
I haven't been to the Grand Canyon.
So South Rim or North Rim?
South Rim.
South Rim.
South Rim, and I'm taking. It's actually quite funny how it came about. I chat GPT'd the best vacation for a retired couple to visit the Grand Canyon on these dates, and it spit out an itinerary for me. So I'm following the itinerary pretty close. We're taking a train in, and so we.
You're taking the train?
Yeah, I'm taking the train
from St. Louis.
No, I'm in Cottonwood. We're flying into Phoenix,
okay.
And then we're staying in Cottonwood, which is about 2 hours from the Grand Canyon. But we're going to go into Williams, and we're going to take the train in. Because the word is you'd sit in traffic for about 2 hours to get into the Grand Canyon on the South Rim at this time of year. So the train's just going to ride straight in. I have a picture window on the train, 2 reclining seats, and drink service. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I took the shortcut from what's it called, Mesa Verde.
Yeah.
And we went through and saw Monument Valley.
Sure.
And then the way the KF rolls is we arrived at like 3 a.m. in the morning to the North Rim.
Wow.
And then we were having to watch out for the buffalo crossing the highway and stuff. But there was no traffic at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, my wife was like, that wasn't a shortcut. And I'm like, right. Yeah, but we got to see Monument Valley. So,
that's right.
That's
right.
It's, that's going to be an amazing trip.
Well, we're looking forward to it. We'll take a lot of pictures.
Sure. So, yeah. Are you gonna walk out on that? There's like a I don't know what you would call it. It's like a balcony or something. You walk out and it's glass.
Yeah, no,
and you can't see can't see the ground, right? It's like you can see down.
I don't know about that. I'm not big on heights, so I will see. Well, I don't know. Yeah, try anything once.
Sure. So. Yeah. You planning on doing any hiking while you're out there? Or?
We're doing a little bit. We're just planning on it being a real leisurely thing. I love taking photos. I'm a picture taker. We returned from a safari trip from South Africa a couple years back, and I really fell in love with taking photos. And so,
oh, great!
Yeah, so I Googled.
There's lots of locations for photos.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
At the Grand Canyon.
That's what I hear.
Especially if you pick the right timing.
So we're gonna see.
So good luck with that. It'll be amazing. I'll have to follow up.
Sure, absolutely.
To see some of those photos that you've got. I'm a photographer myself. So.
Are you?
Oh yeah. So. We'll try not to go down that path because we can talk for the next 3 hours about
I'm not really a photographer. I Googled cameras for dummies for an African safari.
Sure.
And so I got a camera that was quite amazing. And actually, I have some pretty cool shots.
It's the guy behind the lens. Don't forget that.
It's pretty cool shots.
It's the guy behind the lens. You got to know when to hit the shutter. You got to line it up, get the right composition.
Yeah. That's fun.
So we shared a little bit before we got the introduction, and I had no idea that you were a professional soccer player.
Yes, that was actually.
So can you run us through that maybe quickly a little bit again?
Sure. My first career was playing for a team in the North American Soccer League, which is. Now we have the latest soccer group, MLS, but before the MLS was what was called NASL, North American Soccer League. I went to school. I was recruited by Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, which was a big soccer school at the time, and was recruited to go play goal there. And we had one heck of a team, and so we were fortunate enough in 1979 to win the national championship. I rotated in goal with one of my good friends, Mark Downer, And so we were rotating goalkeepers that won a national championship, which was a lot of fun. And we also played together on what was called the Bush Soccer Club at the time. It was one of the premier soccer clubs, kind of like the Scott Gallagher's of today. And we won 2 national championships back to back right after we won the NCAA national championship. So we had quite a run going. And that led me into, I earned my undergrad in television production while I was at SIU. And so we went on. I was recruited when I graduated by the Montreal Manic in the NASL. So I'd never been out of the country. And so the next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Canada and played on that team. Olympic Stadium was our home field.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty iconic to be able to walk into that stadium, and it was a little overwhelming. But yeah, our team was average. It was, decent. We had some really great players, but, we were playing in a pretty tough league. And so we finished that season. Well, back up. I wasn't the starting goalkeeper when we started. I was a rookie, and I came in, and I was trying to work my way in. And the starting goalkeeper was hurt. He got hurt. And so they had planned on bringing another keeper in from Algeria, but he couldn't get in. He couldn't get his visa in time, so they had to play me. And they didn't have a choice. I was the only goalkeeper left. And so when I played, I did pretty well. Played against the U.S. national team my first game, and had a lot of success. And so we went on to win a few games, and the management put some pressure on the coach to, keep me around. And so
nice.
Yeah, it was great. As a rookie, I went on to win the Most Valuable Player award, and because we upset the New York Cosmos in the first round of the playoffs. They were the number 1 seed. We were the number 8.
8.
And it was 8 versus 1. And that game went best 2 or 3. 2 out of 3. We beat them up in New York, but then we came back to Montreal, and we knew if we had to go back to New York, we were going to get pummeled. So we had to do something in Montreal. Well, the stadium, we had the biggest crowd ever at the time, and all the people in Montreal, the French, they brought chickens, and that was kind of a French tradition. I didn't know anything about that. And so
What's the tradition with the chickens?
Well, when things go well, they throw chickens. They throw chickens on the field.
Chickens?
Live chickens. And so that was special. And but it was really, really neat. I mean, it's a French-speaking province, so everybody spoke French, and so
Sure.
I was almost like in a foreign land. And but
Did you ever learn French?
No, they tried to teach me, but I had the little kind of the groupie club kids called the Manicians, the Montreal Manicians. So they would take me and they would try to teach me how to order food in French and blah blah blah. But never did pick it up.
Did you ever get a taste of the poutine or?
No. But it was a great experience up there. I was very, very fortunate, and we went on. Like I said, we beat the Cosmos, and then unfortunately we lost in a 13. It was a 5-round shootout that we beat the Cosmos. I found myself playing goal as a rookie against 5 of the best players in the world that were all in a circle, because New York was known for buying the best players, kind of like the Yankees, and so I really just wanted their autographs. I mean, that would have been a winner for me.
Can we swap jerseys?
Yeah. So So
did
that
you get any jerseys, or they didn't really do that back then?
No, I didn't. I would like to have, but we were actually tied in the shootout. I was very lucky. I say I was lucky, and I was guessing right. And a shootout is when they take a breakaway from 35 yards out.
Right.
And so, like I said, you have some of the best players in the world coming in one-on-one, just you and them, and then they'd shoot, and hopefully you could make a save. So we went into extras. I think there was 8 shootouts, and I think
8 shootouts.
It was 8 because it was 5 and it was tied, but I stopped, I want to say, I should know this, I think I stopped 6 out of the 8.
6 out of 8.
So yeah,
that's amazing.
It was pretty cool, and
those are always exciting.
It was great.
I think when the games are that close.
It was, and the people were going crazy, and it was a big upset at the time. we then went on. We lost to a team called the Tulsa Roughnecks, and that was a 13-round shootout. And I didn't come up as big on that one. And so, but it was a great series, a lot of fun. That team, I was traded to the Chicago Sting that second year because Montreal, they were owned by Molson Breweries, and they decided they didn't want to have a soccer team anymore. And so they sold all the players' contracts, and I was sold to Chicago Sting.
Oh, they just dissolved the team.
Dissolved the team. And so when I went to Chicago, Wrigley Field was my home field, which was iconic.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was great. And we actually won the soccer bowl there. And so I have a soccer bowl ring as well, which is equivalent to the Super Bowl. And that was a lot of fun in Chicago. And then after Chicago, St. Louis purchased my contract. The St. Louis Steamers, an indoor team.
Right, I remember the Steamers.
And I really wanted to come home and play in front. I was homesick and wanted to come home and play in front of the home fans. And so I got to do that. Slobo was the goalkeeper at the time, and Slobo and I became very good friends. And I split a lot of time with Slobo. I got a lot of games in, considering he was so iconic. And so that was great. And then I finished my career in Kansas City, and the rest was history. After that, I had to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so
that's a pretty good run, though.
Yeah, it was a good run. And so I contacted SIU, my old alma mater, and asked if I could possibly come back and help coach the college team at the time. And the coach, Ed Gettemeier, welcomed me back, which was awesome. And so I coached for 2 years while I was getting my teaching certification, because I wanted to then go and coach at the high school level, or maybe coach at the college level, either or. And
but you need some education to be able to actually officially do that.
Yeah, because my undergrad was in television production,
right?
So I had to move into a different. I had to move in a different direction. So that worked out great. And right when I was about to finish that, I was recruited by the St. Louis Ambush, which was an indoor team at the time, and then they asked if I wanted to come and be the GM, which I knew nothing about, and I did that for a couple of years, and while I was finishing my education, and that was fun. But ultimately went and taught at high school level, or actually I taught at the middle school level, coached at the high school level for 4 years, and then I went on to be an athletic director and assistant principal, and moved up to associate principal, and then eventually got my own building. I ended up in St. Charles. So I have about 25 years in education. 21 of them were in administrative roles.
Okay.
So that's what got me.
Shut up pretty quick.
Yeah, well, 21 years is a long time, but
I'm saying you was only for 4 years, and then
I was only a teacher for 4 years. Yeah, I went in administration.
Yeah, kind of like my dad, the same way. He did,
really
but he always did. I don't know. It was the right role for him, to be honest.
Yeah,
but he really liked. He was a shop teacher.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what he got his bachelor's in, was shop.
Oh, fun. Yeah. It was. I always said the best job I ever had in my life was when I was a PE teacher and a coach. I loved going to work every day. I got paid to play games with kids. I got paid to help kids do better in soccer, which was a passion. And that was definitely the best job of my life in terms of just sheer entertainment the whole time, and love. I loved being an administrator, but that was a little more challenging. But you had a great opportunity to change lives, and so that was important to me, and I worked really hard at that. So.
I know my dad definitely impacted a lot of people.
Yeah, and only after you're done do you realize, the magnitude of what you just experienced and how blessed you were.
I did have a question about Montreal. I was curious because I used to work for a company in Montreal, and I got to visit there quite a bit. Was there a favorite part of Montreal for you?
I just thought it was a really cool town. I lived in the West Island.
Okay.
And so I took the metro in all the time. I didn't even have a car up there.
Don't need one. Not really.
I could do transportation all the time, and so I just loved the town. I loved the flavor. I loved, it was a really clean town and a really safe town. And so
Yeah, my daughter went up with me one time, and she's running around all over the place. And I asked, like, it was getting kind of late, and she went home back. Like, oh, is she safe? She's like, you know, the worst case that she might have her purse stolen, but you know, she's not going to get beat up or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's just like the absolute worst.
Yeah.
No, and I go, well, she can handle herself, so I'm not worried about that. And so so she nothing. No big drama or anything. Oh, the only drama she had, she got on the wrong bus going the wrong direction. She ended up, I don't know where she was at.
Well, the good thing about that is you just cross the tracks and you go the other way.
Exactly.
And you figure it out. Yeah. No, I learned about public transportation, and which came in handy when I got to Chicago because then I was on the L all the time.
Right.
In Chicago. So
I can't imagine playing on Wrigley Field. I didn't know they played soccer on Wrigley Field.
They did. And it was pretty... Like I said, it was iconic. It was pretty cool. And I don't even think, I was only 21, 22, 23 years old at the time. And I don't really think I realized until after it was over kind of the magnitude of what I was just experiencing, you know. And when we won the soccer bowl in Chicago, and we had the parade down Michigan Avenue. I mean, it's all kind of it's almost like a dream. It was a blur,
right?
You know, because it was so
surreal. I guess maybe now looking back. Right?
Yeah, looking back, you wonder. Yeah, it is.
Did that really happen?
That was a different life. that was a lifetime ago, but it seems like it was just a different life. But it was. Again, I've been blessed. I've been very, very blessed.
So I just learned. I didn't know, but the Missouri Athletic Club here in St. Louis has a soccer award.
Yeah, the MAC.
What's it called?
Yeah, it's the Player of the Year award, and
it's like the Heisman Trophy equivalent, but for soccer.
And they have one for men and for women.
And I was over there, and I have a friend that's a member, so he's touring me around and see all these. I go, what's with all this soccer jerseys? And then he showed me.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a big deal.
It's been going on for years or decades.
They bring players in from all over the country.
Okay,
the best player in the country. And the best.
It's right here in St. Louis.
It is.
I guess St. Louis is a big soccer town.
Well, St. Louis is a big soccer town. I mean, it's debatable. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, St. Louis is a soccer capital of the world, but then you go to Kansas City and they say they are, and then you go, out east and then they say they are, and you go out west and they say they are. But
it's coming back, right? Yeah, so Miami just built. Is there a new stadium in Miami?
There is,
and then we have the new stadium here in St. Louis.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new stadiums all over.
Actually, Joe has tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping to go to a game, but I don't think it worked out for me.
Yeah. Well, it's a big deal in St. Louis, and they did it right. And the person who actually was very instrumental in building that stadium, his name is Jim Cavanaugh, and he's at Worldwide Technology. And Jim's one of the founders of Worldwide Technology, and he was also a back on our national championship teams.
Oh, wow!
Jim and I played. We were on teams together and played with and against each other, and so great guy. In fact, Worldwide is just riddled and filled with former pro players that were recruited and he started that company. They started that company from the ground up and have done very, very well, obviously.
Yeah, so I have to get I think I got a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get a
from
hat.
The St. Louis City team?
Yeah, I got to represent, right?
Yeah,
just like when I go down to the Marlins game, I got my Cardinal gear on.
There you go. That probably goes over big.
There's usually, it's really kind of sad. There's usually more Cardinals fans than there are Marlins.
Oh, that's it.
On the Cardinals Marlins games, I'm not kidding. Yeah. Like for real, like numbers, actual numbers. Wow. You see a lot more red than you do of the turquoise.
That is sad.
And but I don't think so not with the Miami team, the soccer team.
Yeah, no,
that's going crazy with they have one of the biggest players in the world. Right, yeah. So it kind of helps.
Messi is when they brought Messi in. He's one of the biggest players in the world, if not the biggest. And so
in 2025, there's not very many names right out there.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and they're strong. They're a strong side.
I haven't been to a game yet. That's on my list to do.
They have the whole MLS is, they have a lot of really quality teams. It's just really changed a lot since back in the day when I was playing.
Right. It just never seemed to have. I guess I'll just say it didn't seem like it had the funding. Right.
Yeah, it didn't.
It seems like now all of a sudden it's finally coming around, because it seems like the United States as a whole just kind of always kind of fell behind the rest of the world.
They did, and I mean their youth programs were great. They were
very when I was a kid, the youth programs were there to get the kids going.
When it went to the pro level, we were behind, and I think everyone would probably.
But now it's like amazing. I mean, everybody now we've got all these great soccer teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of prep going in, and there's a lot of club teams that are doing quite well. I mean, it's just about in European countries, soccer is a sport, right? And so they play from a very young age, and they have systems in place where it develops young players, men and women. Now, the interesting thing is our women's program really, really excelled. They obviously winning the World Cups that they've won, and they were special and are special, and so they didn't have to catch up with the rest of the world. The rest of the world had to catch up with them, which has happened, and so yeah, it's interesting. It's fun, and I'm just I'm old now, but I love seeing the sport that I grew up loving and playing.
I had no idea that was part of the history. Mm-hmm. I'm sure my sister probably told me, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So tell me, what's one of your memorable moments as a education administrator?
Once I became an administrator, I set out to. I had a mission that I wanted to not just be an observer, but I wanted to be somebody who took action. There's a lot of opportunities to make a difference, but it's also hard to step out of your comfort zone and take risks, because when you take risks, sometimes you lose, and you had to be okay with losing. And so I loved kids, and I loved watching kids grow. But I also was a really, really big believer. You're only as good as the people around you.
Sure.
And so I was very, very lucky to have some great mentors around me, and people who supported me and supported, when I wanted to step out of maybe the norm. And they did that at Hull North, and we made some changes that were pretty significant. I'll give you an example. One of the changes that I ran up the flagpole, and I didn't know quite how it would go, but I was challenged to stop the kids. Something as simple as the kids on the campus were very reckless on the parking lot in the way they drove. And while you're talking about 16 and 17-year-old kids with nice cars, they like to drive them rather fast. And so in the parking lot, they would drive a little bit crazy, and then we also had parking spaces that were very much at a premium. Very few parking spaces for faculty. Well, the kids would all park in the faculty spaces. They wouldn't care, and they would just say this was a train wreck. And so they said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, "I think we can change that." And they said, "Well, how do you propose doing that?" And I said, "Well, let's just make little tickets, and we'll write tickets just like they'll learn a lesson just like they would learn if they were parking in the downtown and park somewhere where they shouldn't. They got a ticket." And I said, "Let's just make tickets, and we'll charge them $10 for every ticket for the first 3, and then after that, $50 for the 4th one, and then we tow their car on the 5th one." And they said, "Oh, I don't know about that." And so we ran it up the flagpole with the superintendent, and he kind of laughed, and he said, "Go ahead, let's see how this works out for you." Just knowing that we were going to fail. And so yeah, I'll never forget, it was like 2 weeks into that year, and we'd already had kids that were getting tickets, and we made, I want to say we made somewhere $15,000 to $20,000 in tickets, and for the activity fund, and we put all the money towards the activity fund, so it went back to kids. Every single dime went back to kids, and so that was kind of a sidebar that was pretty cool, and the kids did pay, because we said you can't graduate until you pay your fines, and so So I'll never forget the day that, because I was kind of, not going to lie, I was looking forward to the first day we were going to tow somebody. And so we had the 5th ticket, and I had called the student in and said, look, I don't want to tow you. I don't want to tow your car, so please don't do this anymore. And he didn't care. And they called, and sure enough, it was the kid I just talked to. And so I said, okay. He didn't think we were serious. So I had the tow truck come. I had the tow truck pull his car hooked up all the way to the exit where he was leaving. Then I called the school newspaper and I said, can you guys come up here? Because I'm going to call this kid down. And I want you to take a picture of his reaction, while they're towing his car. And so they did. They came up and towed his car away. And I said, okay, this is where you can get it. And I think it was like $130 for him to get the car out of the tow. And I talked to him the next day. I said, will you do an interview for the school newspaper and talk about your experience? And he's like, yep. And so he did the interview, told his story about what it cost him to get the car out, not to mention the problems that he had with his parents. And that I never towed another car. The kids would take it right up to that $50 line, but they would never, once that happened, no more. So that was kind of fun. So that was just one little silly example of how. But
the superintendent didn't think you'd succeed in that?
No, I don't think he did. No, he didn't think that would work. And we all got a good laugh out of it, and
helped the activity fun.
And you know what? It wouldn't have worked if we didn't have the support. It wouldn't have worked if we didn't have the support of my colleagues, and wouldn't have worked if we didn't have the support. So it kind of takes a village. And so we did a couple things like that during that year that got me a little bit of a reputation. And then that's how I got recruited to go to Hardin Middle School, because they had a reputation of being a very, very rough school. And so a friend of mine said, you know what, I got the perfect school for you. You're an assistant principal. Now how you'd like to have your own building? Well, Francis, on north, we had about 2,300 kids with faculty of 130, 140. Well, Hardin had, 750 kids and only 2 grade levels, and and a staff that was half the size of the staff at North. So I thought, oh, that'd be a piece of cake. and I never was a principal in middle school before, obviously, and so I went down there, and it was that was an experience. I knew going in it was going to be rough. My first day that I went to visit, after my interviews, there was a fight in the main office where the principal was taken down by a student. A student and the principal got into it over a phone, and they started wrestling, and they went to the ground. And I was there to interview kids about, the great teachers, and I was going to make a video that was going to be the kickoff for the school year when I joined, and I still did make that video, and we still had a good kickoff, but it was rough those first few years, and made some promises to parents that we would, stop the fighting in the school, which was very prevalent, and and that's how I got a reputation even at Lindenwood a little bit of really not being afraid to kind of toe the line a little bit with what you say and then do what you say. And some things I'm not real proud of. I mean, I was pretty deliberate and direct and maybe a little bit too much over the top in that first year, because we had 78 arrests and
oh wow,
middle school kids. And,
middle school.
And that did not feel good.
No.
And the vast majority of those 50-something was in the first 2 months, 3 months. Wow. But we took the fighting down from 78 to like 3 the next year. And we stopped for all intents.
Was this like big fights, just one-on-one?
Oh, it was just one-on-one fights,
okay.
Kids just fighting. And it was just kind of the norm there. And they had
part of the culture.
They had things called the fight hallways where kids would call kids out. And if you got called out, you better be in that hallway and ready to fight. And then the teachers would go into their rooms, and they wouldn't
just look the other way.
But they would look the other way. Well, they're afraid. And middle school, you should never be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid in any school. But there was actual fear, and I'll never forget when I went into the first leadership meeting with the leadership team of like 7 or 8 teachers. I was asking people about what they thought and, what was their perception, and you have this reputation, and, is this real or is this just a facade? Is this just people talking? Is it over embellished, blah, blah, blah? And one of the persons on the leadership team, who was about 25, 26-year teacher, said to me, let's put it this way. I would not, nor would I recommend anybody I cared about send their kid to this school. And I was like, and you're on the leadership team. I said, that speaks volumes. That's a problem. We got to change that. And we got to do whatever it takes to change that. And we did. We developed something called the Hardin Middle School Teen Court there, where I got called in by the juvenile justice system, asked to be on a committee. And when I went into the room, I felt like I was being ambushed because I went into the room and introduced myself, and they said, "You're the one we've been waiting for." And everybody giggled. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then they started doing the reports about the juvenile justice, the arrests in the area. And they said for all of St. Charles County, Hardin Middle School and St. Charles City, for the arrest in Hardin Middle School was responsible for like 75% of the arrests that were coming out of Hardin for the whole city. And I was like, wow, that's not good. I don't want that reputation. And the judge in there at the time, he said, can we have breakfast sometime? And I said, sure. I said, I'm all for, whatever it'll take to help. But I asked them, if you could please be patient with me, we can stop this. But it's gonna take a little bit of pain to stop it. And it's gonna take a little bit of support from you guys. It's gonna take support from everybody. In other words, if a kid comes in here, you can't poo-poo the fact that the middle school sent them there. You can't blow us off as if we were doing something wrong. You have to support us and say, no, this is wrong, and this is where we wind up. So I learned all about the school-to-prison pipeline and all those things, that was not necessarily good whenever you did what you did in terms of getting the juvenile justice system involved. And so what wound up happening is I wound up partnering with the system, and we held our own teen court, and we held court with kids, and kids actually had a panel, and kids gave kids consequences, and that was an alternative to the court.
So that's how you turned it around.
So we had kids that were responsible.
So you could go to court, or you could go to teen court.
You can go to teen court, right?
And you pick. And let me guess. Teen court was probably more hard on those kids.
You're absolutely correct.
Than the actual 1000%.
Juvenile. And you couldn't go to teen court by yourself. Your parents had to come with you. And they had to sit through the court. And they had to sit through the kids.
And they were probably tough.
And the kids asked, and they did the research. They had to sign documents. The judge, his name was Judge Pelican, he worked with us on putting some legal stuff together. So, there was no FERPA violations, and people had to sign off on, confidentiality agreements, blah, blah, blah. And in the years that we did that, we never had a problem with a kid breaching confidentiality, that was on the court. The kids that went to court once in a while would say, I didn't like this because I was on blah, blah, blah. But we also had a tremendous success rate of non-repeaters once they went through teen court. So
it was almost reverse teen peer pressure in a way.
The kids did not want to go back to teen
peers.
Court, and so they would turn.
They didn't
around.
care about the juvenile justice because they're not going to see them again.
They really didn't care about the juvenile justice system,
right?
And a lot of those kids are already familiar with the system because their parents or their siblings are in it,
right?
And so that wasn't even a remote deterrent, But their siblings,
their friends,
was a
classmates.
Deterrent. Yeah, that was a deterrent, and so that was a big success. We actually went and presented at the Missouri Juvenile Justice Association, and the kids presented about the whole concept. We made videos, So
there's more schools doing that now, or?
It didn't catch on. Really, there are some schools doing it, not in this area. Everybody liked the concept, but we live in a world now that's so litigious, and I think people are afraid of the consequences of this kind of a thing, and don't want to put kids in positions to have to make those decisions. And I didn't do that lightly. I mean, we had long conversations. We had interviews with kids before they became members of that court. We had a class that was an application-only class that actually conducted the courts and planned it. And we had a teacher that led that class. And it was just a real unique time and a real unique space. And I'm extraordinarily proud of how together as a unified body, kids, adults, everybody, we were able to turn that around.
Yeah, parents, teachers, the whole community.
And the community rallied behind us. I mean, our
Right.
support was tremendous. And our
So this is like your first and second year,
first couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then everybody got to see the results of it.
And they did. And then things, things really, it was a joy. And then,
And kids are learning more in that environment, right?
And teachers were able to teach, not worry about behaviors. And, and kids were able to learn and not worry about their classmates, messing up the environment or, not joining in. I mean, that's also contagious when kids start messing with teachers and other kids tend to join in.
Sure.
And so, there were certain things that were just...
The substitute
it's
factor.
terrible. Yeah.
I used to sub.
Oh, that's a hard job. That's a hard job.
Well, for me, it was kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I don't know if... I forgot her last name. Her name was Rosalie. Uh-huh. So my parents working in Hazelwood, I kind of had the inside track to Rosalie, who gave out the assignments. I mean, I still probably had to be on the list or whatever to keep it fair, but she called me and was like, hey, you want to go do this first grade class? Like, sure. I'd never done first grade before. Mom was first grade tutor. She's only 5 foot tall. Yeah. How hard can it be?
Right.
I don't have the teacher look that Mom's got. Mom never raised her voice. And my girls will say, well, she's got the teacher look. She gives you that look.
Right.
And you just know you don't cross the line. She didn't have to say a word.
And she had the reputation. Her reputation preceded her. So all the kids told the other kids.
I called Rosalie after that day. I go, Rosalie, don't ever send me to another first grade class again. I go, how about we just skip elementary school altogether? You kept me in middle and high school. Yeah. I go, those little first grade. She goes, what happened? I go, those little monsters ate me up and spit me out. They all look so cute and innocent, and it's like I had trouble being like hard nosed with them.
Yeah. I've heard the stories. Yeah.
And then I had I'll never forget. I had Mr. Archibald's class, and I was next door to Miss Kirk's, who was my art teacher in elementary school.
Sure.
And so, the days progress. I mean, we have the different classes coming in and out. And, after about the second or third period, she's like, comes over and she's looking in the room. I'm like, can I help you? She's like, just checking. You're all still here, right? It was so quiet. Yeah. Mr. Archibald was known to kind of let the kids got a little rowdy.
Sure.
But see, I always lay down. When I was a teacher in high school, I go, I'd tell them, I go, look, I'd always get Hazelwood West, which is where I went to school. I go, look, I know how it works here. I go, you're not going to pull any wool over my eyes.
Yeah.
I go, you're going to keep quiet. I go, here's your assignment. I was in college at the time. I had my 60 hours in so I could sub. Sure. I go, it's your grade. Mm-hmm. You can do the assignment or you cannot. I go, I kind of know what's going on here in this subject. So if you got a question, I'll help you and do what I can.
Sure.
I go, but we're not going to get noisy. Mm-hmm. And I go, anybody steps out of line? I go, all it takes is a trip down to the office. And I already know if a sub sends you to the office, it's automatic detention.
Yeah.
I go, so there's no discussion. You're just going to get detention. So I get to give you detention. I don't get to write it. The AP is going to write it, and you're going to get it. And the AP is Mr. Jurgen, and he's the same guy that I had when I went to school here. I go, I know the system. And, it kind of worked. I just you guys want to play games. I mean, they didn't have phones back then. I go, you want to go play games? You want to play tic-tac-toe? You want to do the homework? Just keep it quiet.
Yeah.
I can say this now. I probably want to get in trouble. I go, because I had my homework that I needed to get done.
Yeah, right.
And so I was doing my homework in the class.
Sure.
And I was just there basically as a proctor just to keep things going.
Right. Well, kids love authenticity. Kids love people to just be honest with them, be straight with them. And kids want structure.
Sure.
They may not say that, but they do, and they thrive more in structure than chaos. And
they'll put and until they get structure, they're going to keep pushing that line.
Yeah,
and they're going to keep pushing
it. Doesn't necessarily mean total quiet, blah blah blah. You can have structure and have a classroom that's entertaining, in terms of activity and engagement and things happening.
Oh, sure, yeah, and they would, the volume would, like the volume would, and I go, guys, and I could be nice about it,
sure, because
they just needed a little tap on the shoulder. Hey, you're just, let's bring it back down where we were, and
all those tips and tricks are, and your dad learned them as an administrator. Your sister knew them as a leader in education, and knows them. That is all what led me into, okay, now what's next? After I've been a principal for so long, I was like, okay, if I retire now, I still have time to do another career, and
of course you got to stay busy. That's what Dad would say. He's like, don't ever quit.
Right.
You can retire, but you don't quit. There's a difference, right?
Sure. And
so tell me, what is that doing now?
I used to read a lot of stuff. I mean, I love learning new stuff, and so I would listen to radio shows at the time, and podcasts were just beginning, and I would read books on leadership, and there were a couple of guys that really stood out. And a guy by the name of John Maxwell stood out, and a guy by the name of Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was a book that fascinated me. And then John Maxwell's 16 Laws of Growth or 21 Indispensable Laws of Leadership. And I read those, and I thought, this is just really common sense. It really isn't anything that's brain surgery or, it's common sense, but with a big but, it's not common. And so why is this common sense not common practice? And so that really, really intrigued me. So when I was deciding to retire from education, I went ahead and took the classes and got certified in John Maxwell leadership. And there's a whole process that you go through, but then that gives you rights to all his work. And so as I just got certified in it, and then I received this email from a guy that was the school photographer for Hardin Middle School. And he was no longer the photographer. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years because he rose up to the national level. And he's like, hey, Ed, his name is Gig, and that's a nickname, and it's a funny story. But Gig says to me, he says, hey, I see you just got certified in John Maxwell leadership. And I said, I did. He said, do you want to have breakfast? And I said, sure. What's the gig? And no pun intended. And he said, well, I want to talk to you about something an idea I have. And I said, okay. And so we met for breakfast, and he was working in Indiana doing Maxwell leadership stuff. The reason he went to Indiana is if he screwed up, he wanted to be far enough away from St. Louis area where he had all the relationships in the photography business that, it wouldn't mess up his reputation. But it went quite well, and so he landed a job in Rockwood for new administrators. And I was teaching new administrators at Lindenwood. And so I had a lot of experience with a lot of people who are aspiring administrators. And so he said, do you want to take a look at this? And I said, well, I tell you what, you got this thing already set up. How about I shadow you for a couple meetings this first year, because I just received my certification and I wasn't quite sure what the next step would be. And he said, sure. And so I did. And as it turned out, that when I walked into the room, of the 14 or 15 people in the room, 9 of them had taken my class. So 9 of them had already known me through Lindenwood and through the master's program. And so that was a real easy. I loved my class, and I loved the kids. I didn't have kids, the adults that were taking the class. I loved the students because we had just great conversations, and it was a real special kind of class. It was about communication and education. And so then the rest was history. Then we joined forces, and we've been together for 4 years now.
You and Gig?
In terms of the Maxwell side.
Okay.
And so then I got another phone call from Leader in Me coach, FranklinCovey coach, that was working with me at Hardin Middle School, and she had risen in the ranks of FranklinCovey. And well, actually, I called her to see if she wanted to have breakfast because I was trying to stay in touch with everybody that were influencers in my life, people who had helped me, and I just made up my mind that once a month I was going to meet with somebody that influenced my life, and tell them and thank them. And so she was one of those people. And so she basically met with me, and it was an awesome meeting. And she said, "Hey, you want to come to work for FranklinCovey?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not really interested in a full-time gig. I'm already doing this thing with Maxwell Leadership." She said, "Well, that's an asset." And she said, "What if we could make it a contract only, and you pick your hours?" And I said, that would interest me maybe a little bit more. Is that even available? And she said, "Well, I don't know." And then, a month later, she said, "Well, we've created contract only positions for people just like you. You interested?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I went through the interview process, got that contract. So essentially, it's just a contract. It's not a job. It's a contract every year. And so now the rest is history. I have 62 schools that I serve for FranklinCovey, and then I have 5 or 6 districts, just depending on the year, that I do with Maxwell. And I get to work with all these brand new principals on the Maxwell side, and then I get to work with all these leadership teachers on the FranklinCovey side, and I also get to work with high school kids on the FranklinCovey side. And so it was a blessing, and I'm meeting so many wonderful people. I'm learning so many new things from all these people, and it's a side job out of college and retirement that's more than a side job.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so what's the name of your company?
Leadership Matters, Dr. Gettemeier and Associates, but doing business as Leadership Matters.
Okay.
And I have a website, and it's funny because it reads Dred, D-R-E-D, because Dr. Ed. So DredGettemeier.com. And
Dr. Dred.
Same with my email address is.
When I saw that, I had to look at it. I go, "Oh, it's Dr. Ed," because my initial
Dred. Yeah,
I saw Dred, and I'm like, "Dred."
Yeah,
oh
right.
no, Dr. Ed. Okay, I get it.
It was meant to be a small company. It is a small company, but keeps me pretty busy, and provides me some purpose in my retirement. So.
Right, that's very important.
Yeah,
every day.
It is.
Yeah. So, what would you say to people that are maybe looking at John Maxwell or FranklinCovey?
Well, I would say follow your heart and follow your dreams, follow your instincts, and they are resources. You are the person. You make decisions, intentional choices as to how you would pursue. Because you could get Maxwell certified, you could get Covey certified. In fact, I go to conventions every year where there's 3,000 people, at the convention, at the Maxwell convention, and I would venture to say 80% of those people never get it off the ground in terms of they have this dream, they have this thought of what it can be, and then when they start hitting bumps in the road, they're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And so I would say 20% really, really take it and run with it and do well. I wouldn't say that I'm doing tremendously well. I'm doing fine. Could I do a lot more? Absolutely. I'm very intentional about not doing a lot more because I do want to eventually move into that ride into the sunset. I'm getting a little bit old now, and I got to enjoy life a little bit.
Sure. John's still working, though. He's still kicking it.
Yeah, that's good.
I just saw him down at Data Grow, so it's like a one-day down there in Orlando here recently.
Yeah.
And were you down there at that one?
I didn't go to that one. That's in Orlando every year.
Right.
It's called the IMC, the International Maxwell Convention.
Yes.
And they have that actually twice a year.
Right. I think in August is the next one.
Yeah. And, I've been to a couple of them, and now I honestly when those happen are some busy times in schools.
Oh,
And
right.
so- and
Yeah,
so-
August.
Yeah, August is when all the schools
like
are coming
crazy
back.
busy, yeah.
And so that's and I keep up with the certification. I keep up with the new stuff that comes out, and I still listen to his podcasts. I listen to, Maxwell Leadership podcasts. Get great ideas from him. When he when he publishes new books, I get them and look at them, and same with Covey. Follow the stuff that's new in FranklinCovey. I have lots of conversations with the Covey folks, and they provide great leadership opportunities, great education and leadership, almost over the top, but it's thorough and it's good. And so
for that 80%, I'm curious, since I think we would have to classify you're in that 20%, right?
Yeah. Well,
So you can do more, like you said, but
Right.
you're content where you're at.
I am.
You're not wanting to do more. You're good, but you're definitely not in the 80%. For them, based on what you know, and then your leadership and your background and experience and wisdom, what do you think is holding those folks back?
I think fear of failure and lack of self-confidence. Failing is just a part of the journey. And once you get to a place where you believe that you can fail forward and that failure is a learning opportunity and it's just a bump in the road, I think for some, it's, the fear of failure is one whole piece. And then if you combine the fear of failure and then a trial and error, a trial that doesn't do well, that fear becomes bigger and becomes more pronounced. And so you fail the first time, that feels pretty awful. And so let's say you try again and you fail again, that feels really awful. Well, then if you fail a third time, this must not be for me. And but the question is, what did you learn from the failure? What did you do to change whatever it was that might have been a gap? And are you self-aware? And that's all leadership is self-awareness. Are you self-aware of who you are? And are you able to share your experience with others? And so John Maxwell says leadership can be defined by one word, and that's influence. And if you're able to influence someone else, you're a leader. Does that mean you're a good leader? Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of bad people who can influence people.
Right.
And so it's the ability to influence someone and take them in a direction that's going to add value to their life. And lead them on that journey and inspire them. I mean, a true leader asks a lot of questions, props people up, helps them when they're down, encourages them, and shows them a path that they have greatness. FranklinCovey, Stephen Covey, he talks about paradigms, and a paradigm is the way you see things. So, there's a paradigm of change, and the change starts with me. So if I want change, I can't look to other people. I got to be the one to change first. And then you talk about, the paradigm of motivation. Every single person out there has genius. No matter who you are, no matter where you are. You have genius somewhere, somehow. So who's going to be there to help you uncover that genius? And so in the paradigm of leadership, everyone can lead. Every single person can lead. It's a matter of who is encouraging them to lead, who is showing them a path that they can lead, and how are they making intentional choices to move forward on that path. And I think that's the beauty of what I do. I get to help, encourage, and watch other people be successful.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that fear factor, that's a big emotion.
Huge.
Super I don't know, strong is the right word I'm looking for, but
and change.
And change.
69% of people fear change. And that's data, that's statistics that come through on the DISC profile. We talk about the DISC. And you talk about different personalities, dominant personalities, servant personalities, compliant personalities. And when you talk about the servant personality, 69% of people make up that personality style where the dominant personality is to serve, but they also fear change. 69% of people fear and resist change. So when change comes before them, they're afraid.
It's resistance.
They're afraid.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of failure.
What's that one author, Stephen Pritchfield, wrote? There's that old text, The Art of War. He wrote, I think it's called The War of Art. I think Stephen Pressfield, and he talks about resistance. And he's a writer, so he's like, he gets up every day and he writes, and he doesn't always necessarily feel like getting up every day and writing.
Right.
Because he has to face that resistance.
Yeah.
And when you said that fear, the other one that really struck me is there's a guy, Chase Jarvis. He's a photographer, so I like to follow a lot of photographers. And he wrote a book called, I think, sorry, Chase, I'm probably going to get it right, something about Stop Playing It Safe. And in that book, he talks about, I forgot how long he said to do it, but he said to do it for a while. I think like 30 days in a row. You set out with intention to go do something that there's 100% guarantee that you will fail. I'm going to probably mess up this example, but I'll just throw an example out there. So you go to a car dealership and you want to buy a new Mercedes that costs $60,000.
Sure.
And you sit there for 3 hours trying to negotiate to buy it for half or some crazy amount.
Yeah.
You know you're going to fail. I mean, I don't know if that's the right example, but, just intentionally failing, going out and failing and doing it like working out a muscle and getting in reps on failing. Because so people are fearful of failing. His idea is if you just go out there and fail 30 days in a row, you're going to kind of finally get over yourself and say, you know what, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
What did I learn from it?
Yeah.
And how to move forward from it.
Well, the question and the key is exactly what you just said. It's certainly okay to fail. As a matter of fact, if you're not failing, you're not taking risks. And but the key is when you do, what do you learn from it? And then how do you react intentionally
to the
from
failure.
what you learned?
And from what you learned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
So that's interesting. So you talked about the fear factor. What other, because I find it interesting talking to a person like yourself who's had a very successful, varied career, and now you're into John Maxwell and FranklinCovey, and you're doing it, I would say you're as successful as you want to be. You're at that point. What other advice might you give someone? Because I've actually interviewed 2 other John Maxwell certified folks prior to you.
Sure.
And they're just kind of starting their journey. So what advice would you maybe tell them
Well, I think
as starting their journey?
In terms of when anybody starts anything new, I think the first thing that you do is look inward, and you really have to figure out who you are, and that's what I think the Maxwell DISC does so well. When you take that assessment, it's funny. It's about a 7 or 8 minute assessment, and it spits out 30 pages of, who you are. And it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to own it, but in your heart, you're thinking, how does this little assessment that takes 7 minutes cut to the core of who I am so quickly,
right,
and describe me?
I've not taken that. Now you got me interested. I'll have to definitely take that.
It's an amazing assessment, and so I think when you're talking to new people, I think my whole advice to anyone who is venturing out on anything is really be intentional about getting to know who you are, how you tick, what are your gaps, and what are you going to do to kind of mitigate those, and what are your strengths, and what are you going to do to use those to help someone else somewhere else be better. And so, and surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people of wisdom. Surround yourself with people of character. And they will help you in the journey. And they will gladly help you in the journey.
Yeah, what's the saying about the people you surround yourself with? Mm-hmm. Like the sum of the 5 people.
You are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with the most, or
something like
friends,
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you're hanging around people that don't have a lot of character, then it's going to rub off on you.
Yeah. I think.
Or you can hang around people that have superior character, and
so choose your friends wisely.
Yeah.
And they will be your friends for life. The other side, maybe not so much, because,
Yeah, you'll find out.
Yeah.
You'll find out. Well, we're kind of out of time, Ed,
I know.
And I've only rented this a certain amount of time.
Sure.
But it's been wonderful talking with you.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And I've learned a great deal more about you and your history, and a little bit about your Leadership Matters venture that you have now with GIG.
Yeah.
And is GIG also Stephen Covey certified, or
He is
that's
not.
That's
He is not.
with
That's
who
something
is that with? You said
Jill
a name.
Shulin is her name.
Jill Shulin.
Yeah.
So you work with Jill.
Jill is
on
my
Stephen
partner in
Covey.
crime with FranklinCovey and
FranklinCovey. It's not. I'm sorry, FranklinCovey.
Yeah,
I thought,
FranklinCovey's name. It's the company. Yeah, and
who was the founder?
Stephen Covey's his dad. That wrote
Okay,
the
that's
book.
okay. So I said
so
Stephen
the-
Covey,
yeah, the
but
Covey
so that was
Foundation.
still related, but he's not the person that started.
Yeah, he's the guy that started the whole thing in the beginning.
movement.
And so his kids, Franklin and Sean,
Took it over. Well,
running
great.
the company
Well, good for
now.
them.
Yeah, he passed, unfortunately, and they've carried on his legacy.
That's awesome, because that's. I don't know. I don't know how common that is in modern days, where children take over,
they're serving.
take the torch over from their parent.
Yeah, they're serving 8,000 schools worldwide.
8,000.
8,000 schools worldwide, and I think about 4,000 of them are in the United States. And
Wow.
so they're quite successful, and that's just schools. They have FranklinCovey has a whole enterprise division where they work with Fortune 500 businesses.
Interesting.
Yeah.